This story follows Choi Kang-hyuk, a former Special Forces soldier turned personal trainer and fitness streamer, struggling to keep his gym business afloat during COVID. To de-stress, he reads a Murim novel about a Shaolin monk named Mujin but suddenly wakes up inside the novel as the protagonist, losing his muscular body and finding himself in a strict monastery. Confused but convinced it's a dream, he decides to play along. However, as he faces harsh training and discipline, he starts to question whether he's truly dreaming or if he's trapped in this new reality. Let's start the recap. Mujin clenched his teeth, sweat pouring down his face. I definitely activated my iron guard, but I still took damage? He thought. He's on a completely different level compared to Hong So-hee. Did he throw a blade in that brief moment just now? The realization hit him hard. If I drop my guard even for a second, I might actually die. This guy, he's a real killer. Despite the fear tightening in his chest, Mujin forced himself to stand tall and turn to the trembling figure behind him. Lady Siawa, he said, his voice strained but steady. Leave this to me and run. Head straight for Grandmaster Hyungwang. You'll be safe once you're with him. I can't, Siawa replied, her voice shaking. I'd never abandon you, not like this. But before she could say more, the killer made a subtle movement, reaching for his blade. Mujin's eyes narrowed. In a flash, he dashed forward and kicked the sword's hilt just as it was about to be drawn, slamming it back into its sheath. Keep that sword where it belongs, Mujin growled, following up with a direct kick to the assassin's face. The blow landed hard, sending the killer flying backwards. Go now! Mujin shouted, taking the momentary opening. Still trembling, Siawa hesitated, but before she could move, her servant arrived at the scene, panting. Without waiting, she grabbed Siawa's arm and pulled her away. Come quickly! I'm leaving Lady Siawa to you, Mujin called out. Suddenly, a pulse of murderous intent flared behind him. Mujin spun around just in time to block several flying daggers with iron guard. Sparks danced off his arms, but one blade slipped through and grazed his shoulder, drawing blood. He looked up. The killer was already standing, completely unfazed by the earlier kick. Looks like you're in a rush to cut your own life short, Killer muttered under her breath, clearly rattled. Mujin narrowed his eyes. Not even letting me say goodbye to her properly? That's low, he said, cracking his knuckles with a forced grin. What, is your grand massacre plan not that impressive? If you're raising your sword at a young monk, then maybe you're just a coward. He planted his feet. Try killing me, if you think you can. The killer's eyes sharpened. With a cold voice, he unsheathed his sword. As you wish. It'll hurt, but this was your choice. He slashed forward. Mujin dodged, his body a blur, and launched himself at full speed. The ground beneath him shattered with the force of his step. He appeared before the assassin in a heartbeat and threw a heavy punch, only to strike air. He vanished? Mujin thought in disbelief. The killer reappeared behind him like a phantom. Mujin ducked just in time as a blade whistled past where his neck had been a second ago. He twisted around, teeth clenched in frustration. He's insanely fast, Mujin thought, then launched a series of chain punches, each powerful and precise. But the killer effortlessly dodged, weaving around them. You keep jumping around like a damn grasshopper, Mujin barked. Afraid to fight me head-on? Come down here and face me, coward! Perched atop a nearby wall, the killer replied coolly. Stop wasting your strength. You're only prolonging your suffering. He's figured out my specialty, grappling, Mujin realized. He keeps throwing blades from a distance and avoids close contact. If I don't land a hold soon, I'll exhaust myself first. He's the worst kind of opponent for me. But I can't let him leave. Lady Siawa will be in danger. I have to hold him here, no matter what. Mujin stepped back, looking to widen the gap. But suddenly he felt his feet freeze in place. Looking down, he saw daggers pierced into the ground, daggers from earlier, cleverly positioned to limit his movement. From back then, Mujin realized too late. The killer was already above him, sword swinging down. Mujin raised his arm just in time, iron guard flaring. Steel clashed against flesh steel. He countered with a chain punch, but the assassin ducked and retaliated with a quick slash. Mujin raised his left palm, now coated with reinforced ki, and blocked it. Then came another volley of daggers. Mujin dodged most, but a few grazed him, slicing across his robes. Blood dripped. They're laced with poison, the killer said coldly. You'll be paralyzed soon. Before Mujin could react, The killer unleashed a deadly sword art, sword technique, endless pit. The strike tore through the air, slamming into Mujin. Blood sprayed as Mujin hit the ground hard. The killer, not bothering to look back, sheathed his blade. Farewell. Time for you to meet Buddha. But just as the killer turned away, a voice rose behind him, hoarse, defiant. I'm not going anywhere. The killer stopped, turning in surprise. Mujin, bloodied and trembling, stood again, barely. A dagger was buried in the killer's back. Mujin had thrown it just moments before collapsing. I don't think that paralyzing poison of yours works on me, Mujin said, breathing raggedly. Looks like Buddha just sent me right back. The killer narrowed his eyes. He forced his inner energy to suppress the poison. Impressive. You want to die that badly? The killer snarled, drawing his blade again. Then I'll send you back there, for good this time. This next strike will make the paralysis seem merciful. But as he slashed forward, Mujin did something unexpected. He wrapped his arm around the killer's blade mid-swing. Blood sprayed, but Mujin grinned. This doesn't feel like paradise to me, he said. Guess I'm not the one going there. With a sudden burst of strength, Mujin struck the assassin's sword hand with a powerful arhat palm, forcing him to release his grip. The killer reeled in pain. He was now within grappling range. Mujin didn't hesitate. He surged forward and locked the killer in a tight submission, Dar's choke. The hold landed, Mujin thought, his vision blurring. But my stamina's shot, my inner energy is running dry. If this drags on, I'm done for. I have to end it, right now. Mujin exhaled heavily, his chest heaving as he summoned the last reserves of his strength. With precise execution, he tightened the Dar's choke, locking the assassin's left arm and neck in a vice grip. I've secured both points in a single move, he thought. There's no way he's slipping out of this. The assassin screamed in agony, the distinct, unsettling crack of bones echoing through the alley. Mujin gritted his teeth, feeling the opponent's resistance falter with each second. He's weakening. I just need to hold on until he passes out. Through his strained breath, the killer muttered in a trembling voice. You're already too late. This banquet is crawling with assassins. You can't stop it now. They continued struggling, both bodies trembling, Mujin holding on with sheer will, the killer writhing in his last defiance, until finally, the assassin collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Mujin released his hold and stumbled back, barely able to stand. He glanced down, his breathing shallow and rough. The choke landed perfectly. He won't be getting up any time soon, Mujin thought, trembling. No way to stop the attack? Even if a whole truckload of people like he showed up, Grandpa would still wipe the floor with them. He wiped the blood from his lips and steadied himself. I don't have time to waste. I need to get to him. Now. Meanwhile, at the grand banquet, Sealho sat among the guests, nervously biting his thumbnail, the words of inner administrator GM Pyoga looping in his mind. Everything is in place, Lord Sealho. With a single signal, the Heavenly Merchant Guild will be yours. The hounds have already been released. They're likely coordinating among themselves as we speak, just 4 knocks, following a single cough. A dark smile crept across Sealho's face as he whispered under his breath. It's almost over. Just then, a calm voice cut through the tension. What's almost over? Sealho looked up, startled. Standing before him was none other than Grandmaster Hyun Wang. You're branch leader Ryu Sealho, aren't you? The elder said. I've heard quite a bit about you from my grandson. This damn old monkey, Sealho scowled inwardly. Why now of all times? Hyun Gwang continued with a serene smile. I was told you offered Mujin considerable help in Nanchang. I heard you played a supportive role in several matters. Helped him? We barely spoke after our first meeting, Sealho thought, confused and irritated. What's Mujin trying to do, throwing my name around like that? His mind drifted back to something a subordinate once warned him. It feels like the Shaolin are onto something. They're already making moves. Could it be? Sealho narrowed his eyes. Do they actually have intel on us? Still, he scoffed inwardly. So what? It's too late now. He coughed lightly, just once. Instantly, hidden assassins scattered throughout the banquet began subtly reaching into their sleeves and pockets, preparing to strike at a moment's notice. I also received help from Mujin, Sealho said aloud, his voice calm and composed. So much so, in fact, that I can bring everything I've been doing to a close right now. Hyun Gwang raised a brow. And what exactly have you been doing? Sealho chuckled. He can know everything, it won't change the outcome. Let's call it A leadership transition. Or perhaps, breathing new life into this place. He figured that once they were all dead, everything would settle down anyway. With that thought, he began tapping out 4 deliberate knocks with his finger. The assassins, already on edge from the earlier signal, moved without hesitation, hands slipping into their pockets. The moment the 4th knock echoed, the lamps flickered out, plunging the banquet into darkness. People started shouting. "What's going on? The lamps went out. I can't see anything." Panic filled the hall. But before anyone could react, the assassins drew their weapons and, under the cover of darkness, began their bloody work. Screams erupted. Blades slashed. Blood spilled. "What's that sound? I heard something. Someone screamed. I still can't see anything." Above the chaos, Sealho began to laugh, manic, triumphant. "Yes. Let it happen. With this, the Heavenly Merchant Guild is finally mine." But amid the slaughter, a calm, resolute voice answered. "You've gone too far." Hyun Guang's voice rang with a sharp edge. "You no longer deserve a second chance, Ryu Sealho. You are a merchant of blood and deception, nothing more. If it weren't for Mujin, this night might have ended in true disaster." With a simple snap of his fingers, the darkness shattered. All the lamps relit at once, illuminating the chaos, and what stood at its center. A magnificent golden dragon made of pure energy, Hyun Guang's key, hovered over the crowd, glaring directly at Sealho. "You shouldn't throw around phrases like a new breath of life so carelessly," Hyun Guang said coldly. "Did you really think I was powerless to stop this treachery? Look around you." Sealho glanced across the hall, and to his horror, he saw it, not innocent guests on the floor, but his assassins. Each one had been struck down, their bodies pinned to the ground by golden palm imprints, Hyun Guang's true relied divine palm. "You brought dozens of assassins," Hyun Guang said. "I have already subdued them all. It's over. Give up." The would-be killers writhed, trying to move, but not one could rise to their feet. From across the room, Ryu Jiguang, the true guild leader, stepped forward, eyes narrow with concern. "What is happening here?" Sealho's thoughts spun wildly. "He wants me to surrender? Now? With our grand objective right in reach?" Refusing to yield, Sealho reached into his hair and pulled out a thin, long needle, his hidden weapon. In one motion, he hurled it at Hyun Guang. But the Grandmaster's voice thundered through the hall. "Enough!" The sheer force of his voice alone stopped Sealho in his tracks. The would-be usurper crumpled to the ground, paralyzed by shock and key pressure. Everyone saw it. They had all witnessed Ryu Sealho, who had always shown a soft, kind facade, unravel into a madman, laughing as he ordered the massacre of innocents. Now, those who had been pinned by Hyun Guang's energy rose to their feet, weapons drawn and a righteous fury burning in their eyes. Sealho's twisted ambition had been exposed, and the entire guild stared at him with horror and disgust. No one spoke at first. The room held its breath. Then, a voice broke the silence, urgent and trembling. It was Seowa, breathless, having just arrived with her servant. She shouted, "Monk Mujin, he's in danger! Please, someone help him!" Ryu Jiguang, one of the 5 grand leaders of the world's merchant guilds, didn't hesitate. His expression was calm, but his presence carried weight. "We must act quickly," he thought. "There's no time for delay." "Azure Gold Squad," he commanded. "Subdue the assassins and Ryu Sealho, those driven mad by their own bloodlust. The rest of you, come with me. We're going to find Mujin. We can't afford to lose another life." With that final command, Yun Gehe's 70th birthday celebration, once a symbol of prosperity and peace, came to a dramatic, blood-soaked end.
We got plenty more where that came from. Hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for even more amazing content.